Good morning, afternoon or evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the next in our series of Insight Group webinars. We at Insight are interested in how marketing and customer experience is changing, and we're lucky enough to spend our time talking with in-house marketing leaders from some of the biggest brands in the world as we pursue that interest, to create our conferences, our seminars, our webinars, and our own original research. It's absolutely clear to us that the evolution of customer journeys is a topic that merits further discussion. As the internet and digitization has led to more opportunities for interaction between companies and their customers, so has the historic funnel metaphor been replaced with a more comprehensive customer journey. And while customer journeys have been discussed in boardrooms for many years now, they are changing and evolving constantly, particularly for those companies that operate in B2C, in retail and e-commerce based businesses. And as such, I'm thrilled to be able to introduce our speakers for today, Phil Spade and Arish Ali of Skava. Skava was founded in Silicon Valley in 2002, and it started out by building mobile apps, which led to mobile commerce, which led to building in-store and marketing experiences, which has led Skava to today being a leader in the m-commerce and e-commerce space with a state-of-the-art modern mobile-first e-commerce platform which serves some of the largest retailers worldwide. And we're going to be in the fortunate position of hearing examples from some of those big clients later on in this webinar. Forrester has recognized Skava as a leader in both the mobile web and the mobile app segments of the market, and the company is now part of Infosys, the global software leader, with $9.6 billion in revenue. Phil Spade joined Skava in 2013 to ensure world-class customer service and support clients. He has 17 years of experience in internet, financial service, and retail industries, and is currently the SVP of Account Services. And Arish Ali is the CEO of the company. He oversees Skava's management and strategic planning to build innovative and game-changing technologies. And prior to founding Skava, Arish worked at Brienz and at Microsoft. And one final thing for everybody. Phil, Arish, and myself are certainly not the only participants in this conversation. We're looking for you to ask questions throughout the webinar. So please do so using the chat function, which you should see at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. We have shared a little message asking you to ask questions there right now. Okay, so without further ado, let's start the discussion. And first, we would like to start with what I like to call the table stakes. So Arish, Phil, the first thing I want to ask you is, what should brands really already be doing to leverage customer journey insights and then use those insights to drive better marketing and better e-commerce results?
Thank you for the kind introduction and that question. I think what brands need to be looking at right now is the big table stakes is, are they collecting all the data points? There is so much happening in digital. There's so much happening in the industry. There tend to be a lot of fragmented systems in most kind of IT departments in most of these brands and retailers. So the trend we are seeing in the industry is this move towards being able to cobble together a customer journey when you are getting data from so many different pieces out there. There are solutions out there which use a common platform like ours. There are many other platforms which allow you to do that as well. There are solutions out there which just aggregate data from other kind of platforms, existing platforms as well. So there are many ways to kind of go about it, but I think that's the first step before you build that common single view of the customer, as people like to call it, is, do you have all the data points? Does it make sense?
Yeah, absolutely it does. So fundamentally, we're in a situation where data is stored across many different silos within a company, and it's how you build all of that data together to get this more comprehensive overview of what customer journeys look like.
And to kind of expand on that a bit, customer journey, especially on the digital side, that's kind of the most interesting one, especially for retail brands, which tend to be our kind of large customers as well, tend to be things that are very different across different channels. And as over the last few years, kind of mobile has shot into prominence as being the most kind of the key channel for interaction and engagement digitally by consumers. What brands are realizing is the journey on a mobile device tends to be very different than a traditional kind of desktop kind of digital journey. And that is where a lot of these insights, a lot of this motivation to kind of understand the customer is coming from. Whereas on desktop, you could assume a reasonable amount of attention, a reasonable amount of kind of you stay, kind of go to the laptop, you open it up, you invested in that, so you spend some time kind of completing a browsing session, so to speak. The moment you go to mobile, there are these snack-size experiences. There are these kind of moments you steal in time to kind of go onto your mobile device and interact with the brand, interact with the retailer, and that leads to very different kind of usage patterns. So again, that's something interesting. That's a trend. There are companies and kind of retailers who understand that, who are realizing that, and creating experiences that kind of are tuned to that kind of shorter attention span. And again, having that visibility, having the analytics and data behind that can inform your digital experiences.
And that's certainly something that comes up in the research that we do ourselves with CMOs from brands around the world and across different industries as well. The challenge of these new platforms getting to maturity and getting critical mass, as it were, and how companies start to work out how to interact appropriately on them and how to feed that data into sort of broader CRM systems, and the mobile point in particular. The snack size experience, as you point out, I would imagine is something that is really quite challenging for brands to transition to being able to deliver these meaningfully very different experiences for their customers from what came even a year, 6 months ago. The speed of the movement that is required, the agility that's required of companies, must be something really that's quite testing for them.
That's very true, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges that kind of the marketers in these organizations are facing. That as they are coming up with their kind of ideas and things, that this is how they need to engage with their customers. This is what they need to kind of put into practice. They have some very creative, very smart ideas about how to engage, but the moment they turn around and say, okay, let's go and build it, that's kind of where the rubber hits the road, so to speak, and they find out that either the platforms or the teams, or I mean, there are a lot of challenges in executing to that vision of a unified customer a unified approach to customer journey, if you will. And it's not all technology. I mean, some of them can be technology challenges that can be solved. A lot of them are just the way many of these organizations are structured internally. They're siloed. They have different kind of business owners in different areas. And like in-store, for example, versus digital tends to be very, very different orgs inside a large retailer, whereas a customer doesn't think like that way. When they think about a retail brand, if they think about a Macy's or a Nordstrom or REI or any of these kind of retailers, they are not thinking that this is somebody else in store, somebody else online, somebody else on mobile. And that's a fundamental challenge that all large kind of brands and retailers need to address.
Okay, fantastic. So in terms of, I suppose, the table stakes, where companies really need to be now, or need to be attempting to get to, I suppose, we're looking at resolving this fragmentation for a more unified approach and a more unified picture of who the customer is and what their journey looks like, and also being able to react relatively quickly to the growing maturity of new platforms as and when they arrive. So what I want to do now is look maybe into the future and get some examples from you guys as to how some of your clients are actually innovating in this space at the moment and innovating around customer journeys.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a couple of good examples there. So one, a very large stationery retailer who is one of our large clients of ours. A good example from that there is that they realized that the customer journey that they saw on desktop versus mobile was fundamentally different. So when you look at a stationery shopping, usually it tends to be ink and toner and printers that are being ordered by kind of admins and small businesses during regular office hours, right? And there's a different types of patterns, different types of goods that are being ordered. When they looked at their mobile kind of experiences, they realized that mobile consumers were end consumers buying and gadgets and these kind of devices on the mobile side. So it made sense for them to, with that insight, to create a whole different customer journey, whole different experience for their users when they're coming from these two different channels. And they actually implemented that obviously using our platform, but they were able to create on mobile a whole different kind of journey there, very distinct from the desktop journey, which led to significant improvement in conversion for them. So this is a very concrete example where you understand the usage pattern and kind of how those journeys are different across different touch points and different channels, and then you optimize for them by creating a distinct experience that captures and leverages what the customer is trying to do. And if you are able to kind of implement that well, you will see kind of results that are kind of directly impact your revenue and directly impact your bottom line. So that's one example. There's also talking about more kind of next generation, if you will. Some of the innovative work that we are doing on our side is this whole trend around natural language processing and artificial intelligence. So we have always fundamentally believed is that the best interface is no interface, right? And humans have just not evolved to kind of touch and tap and type and kind of on these devices. That's not how we have interacted. We've always conversed and interacted with people. And finally, technology is reaching a point where you can actually start interacting like that with technology. So if you see Amazon's Echo device, for example, you can actually order stuff just by saying, I want this and I want that. And with Siri and other kind of features of technology as well, those things are becoming more and more prevalent. So what we have been investing in from our Skava perspective is building out some of those capabilities as well, so we can enable our brands, our retailers, to kind of implement that. So the consumers who are interacting with those brands are now even going beyond kind of a mobile device, but using a whole different way of either chatting or conversing. And there's a term called conversational commerce that's coming into vogue now. And to kind of using conversational commerce to kind of order things and interact with the brand. And that obviously creates a whole new layer of kind of type of customer journey there, and how you interact with the customer, how do you capture that data. So that's some of the most interesting work that we are doing with the release of Facebook's Messenger API. We have done some pilots for our customers on that, and actually one live launch as well, where an end user can actually chat with using the Facebook Messenger API with the brand. And the bot kind of passes the text input that is coming in, that people are typing in, and responds with a personalized kind of response to that user. So this is some very exciting work, which is saving the brand some time in terms of kind of having to actually put people to kind of do some of this, but being smart about the text and kind of smart about the AI to give very personalized and relevant information to their consumers, who can now just talk to the brand and kind of get a response back.
It's fascinating, the conversational commerce piece that you mentioned there, and the fact that you know, the best interface is no interface. It's amazing, and it's somewhat terrifying, I would imagine, for brands that Amazon Echo as a technology, as a public technology, and I suppose Google Home now as well, are things that have been around for less than a year, and they're already places that customers are expecting to be able to engage with retailers like Amazon and others. The pace of change is incredible.
Absolutely, and that's exactly kind of brings back to the original point, where what marketing and business users want to do, and when kind of they go back and try to build it out on an antiquated platform and antiquated technology. So when you're talking about table stakes, the foundation kind of has to be built correctly, especially now. I know many of my customers are, and I know many other kind of companies and leaders in the industry are thinking about what the future looks like from a digital perspective. So if they have to be able to cater to these customer journeys, and as you said, be able to kind of respond quickly to these kind of like fast evolving trends in technology and kind of user experience, they need to be able to be that agile, be that fast with the underlying technology, underlying kind of processes, and get the whole organization kind of aligned, that we are no longer living in a world where kind of 10 years ago it was okay to do like a 2-year project to build out a new capability and launch it. Now things are moving at, it's not even internet time, this is kind of mobile time or digital time, whatever you want to call it, that things are getting implemented within days and weeks and not kind of months and years.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Before I ask a quick follow-up question, just one reminder to those of you listening in our audience: please do type your own questions into the chat box there, and we can try and get through as many as we can over the course of our allotted time here. And Arish, just one thing to follow up on. Your first example was around the large stationer firm and how they began to offer distinct experiences over particular platforms that they operate on. Can you give us an example as to what made those experiences distinct? So how were they different on mobile?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's not just the experience. Actually, the whole merchandising was distinct. So while they were selling on the desktop side, the top selling categories tend to be ink and toner and printer. On mobile sites, you find a lot more sales happening for electronics and gadgets and a whole different category of products. So and this is kind of the and this is not just this one example. We have seen this with other customers, other retailers, and other even non-customers have told us about that when we've had these discussions with them. That the user journey on mobile and the user expectation on mobile and what they're trying to achieve can often be very distinct from what they're achieving on the desktop side. And one of the mistakes that many retailers and brands tend to make is to make their mobile site a clone of their desktop site, just a mobilized version of the desktop site. And we have always kind of recommended that regardless of what technology platform you use, make sure that for each channel that you are connecting with your customer, understand what is the customer experience there, what is the customer expectation there, what are they trying to do, and then come up with the right kind of solution, the right journey for that channel, as opposed to letting the technology kind of lead the way and say, no, we'll just build this, we'll have the desktop site, and we'll have a mobile version that's a clone of the desktop site or responsive version of the desktop site, and that's it. Because if you do that, you risk leaving a lot of value on the table, where if you had properly kind of understood the customer journey there and optimized for that, you could kind of unlock a lot more potential there.
Okay, great. One thing that I wanted to drill down on, I suppose, is almost looking at results and maybe some success stories, I suppose. So can you give us a bit of an idea as to maybe with a stationery example or one of your other clients, some of the actual meaningful results that these guys have seen, and maybe KPIs that others should look for when they begin to optimize these customer journeys over different platforms?
No, absolutely. So the result, obviously, I can't divulge kind of confidential business stats, but the main result, the main metric, I mean, everybody looks at is conversion. And so our customers have seen a distinct improvement in conversion up to 30–40% from where they were before. Some customers have even noticed up to 70% improvement in conversion from their previous implementation once kind of they start working with us, and they kind of benchmark that. So we have had very real kind of ROI in terms of how we have helped improve mobile conversion for our customers, and almost to a T, all customers who have started using Skava kind of when they have benchmarked us prior to using Skava, and after that we have had a clear and distinct improvement in conversion, anywhere from 25 to 30% to 70% improvement in conversion. So that's a very obvious and very kind of straightforward metric that you can measure by. In general, in the industry, if you look at across the industry, not just our customers, industry-wide, if you look at, you will see the metric tends to be that mobile conversion is anywhere from 25 to 33% of kind of desktop conversion. So if you are in that range, you are industry kind of in the industry kind of range, so to speak. If you are below 25% of desktop conversion, you're definitely kind of lagging behind, and there's definitely things you can do. If you are above 33% or above basically 1/3, you're definitely doing better than most of the people out there. So that's a good way to kind of assess where you are in your conversion journey. Again, it's a rule of thumb. There are distinct brands who tend to do very well on mobile just because of the nature of what they're selling and what their consumer demographic is. So again, all stats should always be kind of taken with the kind of understanding of the context. But those are good thumb rules to go by, that if you're outside of that range, 25 to 30% of kind of desktop conversion, you can definitely kind of you should try to get into that and kind of exceed that by understanding the customer journey on your mobile devices.
Okay. Okay, great, cool. That's useful, and that's a great sort of benchmark, I suppose, for people that are considering getting into this. One question that's coming in to us through that chat function is around omnichannel. It's a buzzword that is doing the rounds at the moment in the context of customer journeys, and obviously quite literally it means all the channels. But the reality, I know, is rather more nuanced than that. So the question is, can you define the sort of omnichannel customer journey that brands should be providing for customers? What does omnichannel mean in this context?
Absolutely. So at a very kind of, there are two ways to think about it, and depends on who you talk in the industry, you'll get a slightly different answer. But what I like to call the real answer from a retail perspective, if you look at omnichannel, is truly the ability to enable your customers to come to you at any touch point, any channel, and for you to be able to kind of deliver the product to them as well through any channel. So what that means is they can order on mobile or desktop or any digital channel, and you can ship it to them, or they can come and pick it up from a store, or you can go and kind of order online, pick up in store, or have it shipped from a store, or you go into a store, and if the product is out of stock there, you can purchase it and get shipped from online from the warehouse, for example. That's truly kind of from a pure retail point of view, that's really true omnichannel, where you are able to enable the customer to buy from any touch point and have it shipped and delivered across any touch point. A more kind of generic and more kind of term also is used in a less strict way, is just the ability to kind of be able to interact with your customer on any device, any channel, mobile, tablet, kiosk, desktop, inside the store, all of that. But truly, that's the hard part about omnichannel comes into focus. If you ask anybody from the retail side of things, is do they have the IT systems and the technology in place to enable that single view of the inventory, where shipped items are in their warehouse, items are in their store, and being able to get the product to the customer regardless of where he ordered it from, regardless of where he's trying to make a purchase, and still being able to deliver it to them. That's what I like to call true omnichannel.
Okay, I see. And I suppose that you could ask a sort of broader strategic question around that, which I suppose is for companies that maybe aren't omnichannel in inverted commas right now, and I guess there aren't a tremendous number that are available on all possible channels. You know, to what extent should they attempt to be? Like, how important is it that if you're a medium-sized retailer, that you are even attempting to be able to take orders through the Amazon Echo, for instance? I mean, how should companies balance their attention span in terms of attempting to be omnichannel versus just giving a really good experience over maybe a smaller number of channels?
I think it's also a table stakes question at this point. I mean, this is not something you have a choice over, and the reason for that is your competition is doing it. And if you are not able to serve the customer at that instant of time when they're looking to make a purchase, they are going to be very fickle actually, and they will just go to whoever is able to fulfill that need for them. So if they are on a mobile device and they have the they want to buy a particular product that you sell, and they come to your site and you're not able to sell it to them or not able to fulfill it for them, they'll just go and get somewhere else. So I think from a retail industry perspective, omnichannel is not like a luxury, it's a necessity that they have to embrace. Again, depending on the size of the retailer, the question gets nuanced and kind of exactly what the capabilities are. But any retailer who has a large number of stores and have a decent size kind of online operation has to be very serious about omnichannel.
Okay, I see. So challenging times ahead, I guess. We've had another question come in from Janet Perinsky on brands delivering seamless experiences. So to add a bit of context, I suppose one of the major challenges for brands, and we've sort of touched on it when we talk about omnichannel, is the explosion in potential customer touch points in various different platforms, from the Amazon Echo to Facebook Messenger to beyond. Places and platforms where they can, or as you're talking about, they should be available to interact with their customers. Now, at the same time, it's obviously really important that those brands deliver a pretty close to a seamless experience over those different touch points and those different platforms. They deliver the same brand message and experience. So Janet's question is, how can brands sensibly deliver an experience that's at least approaching seamless when it's spread over so many different channels?
That's a very good question, and this is because this is something all brands face as well. And what we have been able to help them with, it comes down to two parts, right? One is the message itself, the creative message itself, the creative itself, the marketing kind of statement you're trying to make is consistent. And the challenges there tend to be if you're working with multiple vendors or you multiple sets of kind of stakeholders, and you have to coordinate across that, it becomes complicated to deliver that message in a seamless way. And that is where kind of part of it is just being consistent internally in your organization to have like a team that is able to kind of send the right set of assets, right set of messaging to all your stakeholders to deliver that message from an organizational and process perspective. And the second half, obviously, the technology, where you need to have a platform that is able to kind of seamlessly deliver across all those different channels and across all those different touch points from one platform. And that is obviously makes a big difference. And it has to be a platform that is very easy to use from a marketing business perspective. Can't just be a kind of a very technical, geeky platform that you have to then involve a legion of developers to kind of do any meaningful work on it, because then again that dilutes the message, and that kind of makes it harder to make changes very quickly. So there's a technology part of it. There is a process part of it in terms of ensuring the seamless delivery of message, and the other half of this is how are you capturing the data. So once you do a campaign, for example, so this is a massive marketing campaign, you're putting posters all over the store or inside the store, and you're putting some online banners, and how are you capturing the effectiveness of that across all those channels? And this is where having a big data engine or having kind of analytics engine pieces which are connected to all of these systems and giving you one kind of view or look into that overall campaign, that is where you get a seamless kind of view into what is happening. So while the first half is seamless from the consumer's point of view, what they see is consistent and integrated, and that can be solved through technology and excuse me, platforms. And the second half is from a data collection point of view, where you as a business owner or the brand owner gets a seamless view of the customer, and that also is partially technology and partially processes.
Okay. Okay, I see. Okay, fantastic. I want to look a little bit further into the future, and I'm excited to hear that we've already covered a couple of these new technologies and new platforms. But we're reading all across the business press right now the impact of chat apps like Facebook Messenger, like WhatsApp, on the relationship between corporations and their consumers. We've already touched today, and we've seen plenty of examples also of bots and of artificial intelligence, particularly those that are integrated into things like Facebook Messenger. And there's the Amazon Echo, there's Google Home and conversational commerce, and even big technologies move into wearables and in-car technology. So these are all things that we can see on the horizon and that brands are starting to have to get their head around. What do you think is next? How will things like Facebook Messenger, like bots, like wearables, actually impact on social commerce and on things like marketing in the future?
They'll have a huge impact, and the reason is with these kind of technology changes, when they first come across, it's very hard to see the exact impact or understand, and before you know it, they become like part and parcel of our lives, and we can't live without them, and that becomes the primary kind of way of interacting. So brands have to be very, very on their toes on this, because before they know it, the whole kind of interaction, how customers expect to interact, can completely change. I mean, one thing you did not add to your list is virtual reality. There's a huge push happening right now. It has not quite yet hit that critical mass, even though we have the Oculus device and other devices, kind of Samsung Gear out there in the marketplace, but it's not yet hit the kind of critical mass that happened in the mobile industry when the iPhone and Android platforms came out, and they completely kind of turbocharged the whole mobile revolution, so to speak. I think something similar will happen in virtual reality as well, just because the experience that it offers is so transformational if you've actually tried out those devices and gadgets. So, and again, it's hard to imagine right now, but it will happen much faster than you think. And that is the true challenge. I mean, it's very hard to predict everything in the future. I can't tell what the future is going to look like 5 years from now in terms of what devices, what things will actually be working, in what way. And there'll be things that we have not even dreamt of right now, which some startup in Silicon Valley is probably working on. So what's going to happen is what is important for brands is to make sure they are ready to respond fast. Right? This is I think if you are the single biggest value that we have brought to our customers is that we have managed to kind of enable their marketing and business teams to launch experiences, launch kind of these customer journeys, kind of track all of that much faster than any other traditional way. And we are not the only, and again, it's not into your sales page, it's not the only vendor who are doing that. There are others out there as well, and there are obviously going to be different ways you can address that technology problem. But the message here is you have to address that, because if you are still on a legacy technology stack, working on monolithic platforms that kind of working through very kind of like if it takes you many days and weeks to kind of make updates to your main website and main application, and before you can see them, then there's something wrong. Because you know what, within a few years, you will have a whole different ways of interacting, and if you can't make those changes fast enough, the brands that will capture the market share in that medium. And what we do know is that customers have this affinity, which is kind of almost media specific to a particular medium, and if they think that in mobile you are not the right brand, they may be very loyal to you, but in mobile, if they figure out that, you know what, this brand gives me a better experience, they just associate that mentally and they switch to that, right? So you don't want to lose out mind share in these specific kind of different kind of channels which are out there just because you're not ready from a technology point of view. So I think that's a very fundamental challenge that has to be addressed.
Okay, fantastic. We have several questions coming in from the audience at the moment that I'd like to put to you guys. And the next one comes from Reed Keller. And Reed's question is, how does the sort of the customer journey as a whole really differ from the sort of sales funnel analogy that maybe preceded it? And do you have any examples of how those two things are different?
Absolutely. So I'll give you one how we are how we think about it, and maybe that'll address that, right? Customer journey traditionally, and I'm talking about digital customer journey on the internet and website, right? If you look at the technologies that is out there, it used to be sitemap driven. People have first build a sitemap and build a website to that sitemap, and that's how you, as a brand or a retailer, were trying to curate your customer's journey when interacting with your brand, right? And to the point that has become such a core part of now technology that every kind of brand, everything is the first thing to think about is what's the sitemap and how they're building out their site, and they try to force the customer's kind of experience through that site. And the way we like to question it is that why can't you have a completely sitemap-less experience, which is as you come to the site, and the site doesn't have to be a traditional desktop website, it could be a mobile website, tablet site, it could be a mobile application, any digital touch point. As you start interacting with me, can I, on the fly, guess what your intent is? Are you here to shop for one specific product? Are you here to just browse and look for a gift, for example? Are you here to kind of just see what's new on my kind of catalog? Or are you trying to achieve a particular goal, which is maybe buy a gift for your mom or something like that? If I can infer the intent based on your digital kind of trail before you got to the site and based whatever information I have, I can on the fly kind of give you an experience that is not constrained by a sitemap, can give you the products information and kind of build a whole experience around that. So to me, being able to create that kind of a digital journey is a fundamentally different kind of proposition, and you can't do that kind of a sitemap-less digital experience using traditional web technologies which are just built around building sitemaps and site-based and sitemaps. So that's just one example of how things are different. The other example, obviously, is if you start talking about like conversational commerce and interacting with that, your whole backend, now you no longer even have a website. There's no kind of concept of creating a web page with SEO tags and things like that to have that interaction. But it has to still get the same data, same product information, same information about the consumer's past purchase history and their shopping trend to do that. And this again, you can't build using traditional kind of technology stacks where all that data and the front end is kind of entwined together in one kind of tech stack or platform. So there are distinct ways where the underlying platform and architecture have an impact on how fast you can create these different journeys. I don't know if that answers the question, but I tried to just address that.
Absolutely, it does. It does. It does. Thank you. And as I say, there's a veritable flood of questions. So we'll go straight on to the next one, which is from Gina Salomon. Forgive me if I pronounce that incorrectly. And Gina's asking about B2B companies, which I know may well be a little bit out of your area of expertise. But if you do have any insight, then please do give it. But can you talk about the customer journey for B2B companies? Is it markedly different for B2C firms to retailers?
Oh, absolutely. So we do work with some of our retail customers have large B2B presence as well, and we have powered like the mobile version or mobile apps for them as well. So we definitely understand that space pretty well. The customer journey itself does tend to be distinct because there are things like if you're making a purchase from an office, for example, you have to get approval from your manager. There's a PO and the things like that have to come into play. And it's very interesting because traditionally it has been done as like very kind of, again, everything has been built on websites, on the traditional platforms. And now what people are expecting is that if I want to buy something, I need to get an approval. I should be able to send a message to my supervisor who's on his mobile phone, can approve that thing, and kind of it comes back to me and I'm able to make a transaction. Now the moment you start thinking about like if you want to really move away from the traditional web-only kind of view and kind of implementation of B2B, and you start plugging in all these kind of channels that come into play if you really want to empower your workforce to kind of do that kind of purchasing, to do that kind of shopping from business to business point of view, that the journey part becomes even more interesting because now it's not just about different channels and different devices, there's a whole layer of workflow intelligence that has to be built in as well. So we definitely understand that, and there is a huge benefit there as well. Just imagine the productivity gains if you don't have to wait for your boss to come back on desk before getting his approval on the PO to make the transaction, right? So these things obviously have very real impact on businesses, but it has to be again built out correctly.
Okay. Okay, I see. We now have a relatively specific question from Sunny Yoon around Apple's iBeacon. If that's something that you can speak to. Can you give any examples of implementing Apple's iBeacon and what retailers are adopting in that space, or is that not really something that you guys cover?
Yeah, so this is a very high level. I mean, it is used to kind of track, and there are specific rules kind of that Apple has put in place and how you can use that ID. So our customers are using it, but within those guidelines that have been provided to create like a personalized experience. So it is being used. It's as a substitute for what used to be UDID on mobile devices in the past kind of incarnation, and now we have a more well-defined kind of ID structure. It's a data point that goes into building the view of the customer and especially omni-channel view of the customer as well. But our customers, so from a technology perspective, it's kind of something we are able to kind of put in place and support. But what we are doing is we are trying to make sure that we put the technology and support from a technical perspective, but most of our customers are using it differently based on their needs. So we are implementing it. We are seeing a lot of interest from our customers in making sure that is enabled and available to them as a capability. But how they're using it differs from different customers. I'm sorry, I'm not more kind of accurate. I mean, more specific here, but that's kind of what we are seeing right now.
No worries. No worries. And then we have a question from Luella Kalingo. So you mentioned earlier conversion as a key metric, and I believe you said at the time that in various instances you're seeing between 30% and even up to 70% conversion improvements by focusing on this area. Beyond conversion, though, are there other KPIs that you would suggest that marketers and e-commerce experts start to track when they're making these optimizations on their site and on mobile?
So yeah, absolutely. So I think the traditional kind of KPIs that you look from an e-commerce web perspective, most of them still apply. things like basket size or average order value, overall kind of revenue that you're generating, page traffic. All of those metrics make exactly the same sense that they used to do in the desktop world. They make the sense in the mobile world as well. In addition, when you move to mobile apps, for example, like how much time people are spending on those apps, how often are they launching that app again, for example, and are they actually using it to make purchases? You start getting a whole new set of data points as well. That should be measured as well. The key drivers, if you will, are what we try to measure at a high level is obviously kind of how are we helping our customers increase revenue, which is through conversion and average order value and those metrics, and how are we helping our customers improve engagement, which is having them stay engaged with the brand, how often do they come back. So also those are two broad categories of metrics that we encourage and we track ourselves to ensure that you are getting the best out of your investments.
Okay, I see. So looking at, I suppose, for people, things that will allow them to track whether revenue is increasing, whether order value is increasing, and how engagement is also increasing. So basket size, time on the app being a couple of good ideas to consider. Bettina Scherer has a question, and this touches on something that we talked about earlier, I think, when we came to omni-channel, which is, you know, the extent to which retailers can realistically be expected to really be on every single touch point at every, you know, as soon as it becomes a mature touch point. So do you have any guidance as to how the executives that are listening can pick which touch points are going to be the best, the most efficient, the most important to have a presence on first?
So absolutely, the way we look at it, obviously nobody can tell the future, right? But what we are seeing, the trends that we are seeing, and the way we do it. So we ourselves, for example, were doing mobile in 2002 before mobile was cool, before anybody else was doing mobile, right? But it took till 2008 for iPhone and Android to come into the marketplace for mobile to really take off as a huge kind of market opportunity and a huge business for everybody. So sometimes things take longer to mature, and what retailers, and especially when you're budget conscious, as every retailer is, you don't want to overinvest in a technology that may not take off, right? So that's where that trade-off comes in. And our guidance has been that in the past it was okay because these kind of transformational customer journey touch points and channels would not get introduced that quickly and take off that quickly. But we have reached a time where the time from introduction of a new channel and for it to becoming potentially kind of, because of all the viral and social networks, everything out there, becoming a de facto kind of market leading channel out there is very short. And in this very short period of time is a huge business and marketing opportunity for really kind of the forward thinking kind of brands out there to capture mind share, to become the leader in that particular channel if they play right. So my kind of advice and guidance is, if you're looking for a specific kind of channel kind of feedback, obviously desktop is a table stake. Mobile at this point is kind of obviously table stake, and you have to be best of breed, as good as possible in terms of mobile, because that's where most of the interaction is. So those are kind of core things that you have to have in place and be doing it very, very well. In addition to that, what we are looking at, obviously the AI part, NLP part is something I would say pay a lot of attention to in terms of like Facebook bot and Messenger channel, for example, kind of being able to use AI to kind of connect with them, because these things pick up so fast that before you know it, everybody is using them and you may be left behind. So these are things you have to be a fast follower of if you don't want to be the pioneer and kind of the cutting edge kind of brand out there trying to do the leading edge stuff. You have to make sure that you are ready as a very fast follower, because you don't want to be in this kind of technology adoption cycle a laggard in this space, right? So that classic kind of that crossing the chasm, that curve that is there, you want to be kind of part of the early majority in adopting many of these things, because that's where you have the most chances to make a significant contribution to your actual business by capturing mindshare and kind of displacing some of your competitors. And all that means at this point is rethinking. It's not just about chasing one particular channel, because again, which is the right channel can change very quickly. But what it means is that you have to be able to have the foundation in place that you can react that fast. And that's truly the question at this point that many of our customers and other people in the industry are asking. and you have to get that right.
And that foundation, just to build on that, from what you've been saying, I understand that the foundation that people need to be focusing on, because it sounds completely sensible to me that people shouldn't be focusing on jumping from channel to channel. They should have this sort of capability built up and ready to be more agile. The foundation itself is built fundamentally on this de-siloization and on taking data from as many different touch points as you can get it, and using it to get this more comprehensive view of what customers are doing right now in terms of their customer journey, and using that to make predictions and make bets as to what they may end up doing in 6, 12, 18 months' time. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's on the right track. Let me give an example. I saw this great blog post on Forrester's digital transformation blog, where they had this diagram where they said that 3 things that any business who's thinking about a digital kind of future for them needs to kind of think about is how are they making their business more responsive, that they can change business model changes, they can make changes very fast in their business, right? That's one goal. Second goal is it has to be cost effective. Am I managing my costs? I'm not just spending indiscriminately or running out of my budget, so it has to be very cost sensitive. And third is, am I building a foundation for the future? So the post argues that these are the 3 desirable kind of end results of any kind of digital transformation initiative or project, right? And interestingly, what their insight was that to achieve that, you need to focus on 4 kind of foundational capabilities. Their recommendation was it has to be cloud-based. You have to move to the cloud because that's what gives you extreme agility, ability to scale, and all of those benefits you get from moving to the cloud. Second was you have to be mobile first because that is the primary channel for most consumers right now. So you need to make sure that you're thinking about your touch points from a mobile first perspective. The third was you have to be insights driven. That's basically big data and kind of being able to collect all the data points, how your customer is interacting, and use that. And the last one was you have to have an architecture which is basically loosely coupled architecture. So your systems, your platforms are not monolithic systems which are very hard to change. So if you really think about this cloud first, mobile first, insights driven, kind of loosely coupled architecture is what they recommended you have to have in place, and in order to achieve your goals of business responsiveness, lower cost, and foundation for the future. And the reason I love that blog post is because those 4 attributes they talk about, those are inherent attributes of our platform and how our customers help and they like us. So it validated kind of our approach to how we build and what we have built as a platform. But those 4 attributes can be implemented by anybody. I mean, again, not just using Skava. You could be doing an internal kind of re-platform, or you could be kind of doing something else. But as long as you're able to kind of put those 4 pieces in place in terms of the technology you're building or the stack you're building, that will give you those business results you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I see. So the 4 foundational capabilities for this agility: cloud-based, mobile-first, insight-driven, and with this loosely coupled architecture that you mentioned. That's really helpful. Okay, and one other, and I think I'm afraid final question from Jenna Salamone again. And we've touched on it, but I'd like to get a little bit more detail from you, and that is about the Internet of Things and how significant you think the impact of the Internet of Things is going to be on the customer journey.
No, that's a very good question because the way I believe, I think the IoT whole revolution that's happening right now is just another step in the direction of the best interface being no interface, right? To us, having everything being digitally connected, even the smallest things, it takes away the need for interfaces to be there or clunky interaction. If you look at Amazon's dash button, that's a great example where you just press one button and that's it, and you have next day, or in fact, if you some places you have 1 hour delivery from Amazon, within an hour you have Tide sitting on your doorsteps. So if you think about that, and as more and more these kind of things get connected and more of that data gets gathered, and the customer journey is going to fundamentally change because you are reducing this whole kind of the clunk. I mean, even the best UI and mobile interfaces are fundamentally clunky interfaces because you're teaching people to kind of tap on devices, something they've never really evolved to do, right? So I think the IoT revolution is another step towards that, kind of eliminating technology visibly from our lives and just making it present everywhere so it is helping and supporting us, but without turning us into kind of geeks and technologists.
Okay, I see. Thank you very much. And I am afraid that is all the time that we have. So a few final points for everybody. The first is please don't worry if you struggled to take comprehensive notes. We have recorded the whole of the webinar, and we will be emailing you with a link from over the next few days. And that email is going to come from me, from Nick Johnson. So do watch out for that. If you would like to learn more about Skava and about customer journeys in general, and M and e-commerce and all of these fascinating things that Arish has mentioned to us, then do check out the Skava website, www.skava.com. And also for more insights on the future of marketing more generally, then do check out our new white paper on the state of marketing in 2016, where we look at personalization, we look at content, we look at storytelling, and we look at marketing attribution as the core competencies of the marketing department of the future. And there is a link in the chat box where you can download a copy. So do check that out. And finally, a huge thank you to today's panelists, to Phil and to Arish Ali from Skava for their time and for their insight. That was a fantastic discussion. So thank you very much, everybody. Cheers. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.